And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And today we're going to be finishing off this very, very weird alternate base that runs on 1 kilo of methane. And the thing about it is, the oxygen supply is what's going to be the crux of this base. It's going to be completely different from all the rest because we're going to run the oxygen entirely off polluted dirt. See, there's this sublimation station you can make, and this thing basically consumes polluted dirt and spits out polluted oxygen. It's not a perfect transfer, but we're going to be producing an awful lot of polluted dirt. And if we sublimate it, then cool, lots of oxygen. However, it's all polluted oxygen, so we got to clean it out. And we're going to try a slightly different method for doing that. So, yeah, we're going to freeze a lot of it. Now, I did a bunch of testing on the side to figure out how I was going to do this and make it look at least mildly neat. There's been a few messy attempts on my test maps. But what I found was the best thing was you can't just stick these sublimation stations near a cold source and let them, freeze everything. It's just you get problems with overpressurization or you get problems with too much heat being generated. So what I found is put them in their own separate room, stick in a couple of gas pumps with them, and then have the gas pumps pump into the chill area. That way you're able to apply an artificial 20 kilos of pressure, whereas the sublimation stations only go up to about 1.8 kilos. So this just allows you to get more throughput. We were aiming for having about 1 kilo of oxygen per second if we need it. However, we don't want duplicate interaction in there, so we'll throw in also an auto sweeper. Copper, actually, you know what, we'll go with steel with these things just to be on the safe side. That'll fit in there quite nicely. And then we're going to have to put in an unloader. So a shipping unloader, conveyor receptacle will go perfectly right about there. Actually, steel as well, just to be on the safe side. Done. Now that gives us all of that. We're going to be pumping that into a chamber that goes down here. But we need a bunch of other stuff that needs to go in there to make this all work. For example, we need a cooling solution down here. So we're going to get out our old staple, the aquatuner. For this aquatuner setup, we are going to go with a very brutal brute force approach. And as well as that, to get the gases out, we're basically just going to throw in water. Now, this is what I used to do in the olden days. I basically put in over a ton of water on all the bottom tiles, and then when it started to creep up into the second layer, it'd push all the gases out. Later on, I started using 2-layer stuff. But you know what? For this one, we're just going to go old school. Now, the cooling loop is going to go all the way around through here. This is going to be the cooling plate. You can ignore that area for now. This one down here is we're also going to cool down the food. So this is going to freeze oxygen and power our fridge. I figure, a 2-for-1, that seems like a really good bargain. Now, all these pipes here are made of ceramic as well. That's going to, was the only way we could stop these things from spreading too much chill around our base. Now, over here is the radiant pipes. They're going to be going through here to cool down what's going to be a steam turbine. It'll be a steam turbine clamped on top. I think we're going to have to put in some, we're going to have to force some oxygen in there and get all the carbon dioxide out of there because there's just a little bit too much carbon dioxide right now. But I think I have a way of doing that without hopefully causing too much mess. For now, let's just finish off these bare bones bits. We quickly throw in a gas pump right there. We've put in a very simple liquid lock made out of naphtha. That should allow us to drain this area rather quickly, and then we're going to fill it with polluted oxygen so that we can use that as a coolant for the steam turbine we're going to stick in. I don't mind putting in the polluted oxygen because by the time we're finished with it, it's going to be a liquid anyway. That 30 kilos of polluted dirt can off-gas in there, though I might want to make sure... I don't think anyone's going to try sweeping that up. I think we're going to have to seal this in. I was hoping that polluted dirt would off-gas, but they nerfed it in the expansion to stop the swamp planets just end up getting entirely oxygenated by polluted dirt. So, yeah, I'm going to have to put in some polluted oxygen in there. And I think I have an idea. I'm just going to seal off this entire area, fill it full of polluted oxygen, and that will be the problem solved. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Little bit of gas pumping and we've managed to get all of the polluted oxygen out of there, though I have made a minor mistake, one I can quickly rectify. I forgot to put in the liquid pipe in here. We're going to be pumping a bunch of liquid oxygen as a counterflow up here, and then it's going to get dumped into there, and I didn't put in that insulated liquid pipe. Maybe we can get it diagonally. I hope we can get it diagonally. If we can get it diagonally, that would be great. Next up, we enable both of these sublimation stations. They're already loaded up with polluted dirt. Remember, this map had a lot of polluted dirt on it, so we can easily prime this entire system quite handily. And... stop trying to eat the sublimation stations. Alright, almost done. Almost done. We're just going to get a bit of gas pressure in here so that we have something to surround the steam turbine with, then we can seal it up and get this ready to go. Just pointed out to me in the comments that some of the dupes get new animations now. For example, this one has mole hands, and they do that whole clawing thing with their hands. Okay, that's good to know. We are ready to rock. We've got it all sealed off, and we can finally start prepping the system. And what I've done here is turned on the aquatuner. So the liquid temperature sensor here is set to -196. This will allow us to liquefy polluted oxygen, which, that's a good thing. And let's see, any other gases coming? No, we're good for the moment. And before this whole thing kicks off, I'm probably going to want to seal off this area. And while I'm doing that, we'll let this, do its prep work. It's going to take a little while, but we're not going to worry about that too much. We have just about hit temperature down here. We're aiming for about 196 or minus 196. The reason being, polluted oxygen here liquefies at minus 183. Well, add on an extra 3 points. So minus 186, it'll turn into a liquid. The thing is, it turns into liquid oxygen directly, which is excellent for us because the only way to turn polluted oxygen to clean oxygen, barring that, is to use deodorizers. And while deodorizers are great, there is one problem with them. They require an awful lot of filtration medium. For example, this one is consuming 133.3 grams of sand or regolith to turn 100 grams of polluted oxygen into 90 grams of clean oxygen. So you lose 10% of the oxygen, and you also have to put in, well, even more material than you're getting gases in or out. So no, we can't really afford that, not with this. So what we can do is just turn it into a liquid, and then we end up with pure liquid oxygen, and when we evaporate it again, it turns right into clean oxygen. 1-to-1 conversion ratio, no loss of mass, no requirements for any kind of, transfer medium or conversion medium or anything like that. Let's just see down here, as I didn't see the tile down here, we're slowly starting to collect liquid in here. I want to let a pool of liquid build up before we turn on the liquid pump. The liquid pump is not going to activate until we hit a certain pressure. The way this is going to work is actually blindingly simple in a lot of ways. When the automation kicks in, and this detects that we need more liquid in here or more gas in here, these two gas pumps pump on, and they start pumping in 1 kilo per second of polluted oxygen. At the same time, this liquid pump will activate, and it will pump out 1 kilo of liquid, because that's the exact amount that this thing is actually capable of pumping. And that kilo of liquid will get pumped up through here and sent into this section where it'll evaporate, or sublimate? No, evaporate into gas. And that means we'll be pumping out 1 kilo of oxygen while pumping in 1 kilo of oxygen, meaning this place should remain perfectly stable. Well, that's the theory. Oh, that reminds me, we should put some food in there. I'm thinking there's a bunch of meat that was lying around the map from, just randomly, these puffs that were flying around the map, occasionally they would die over this ice. And because the ice is below minus 18 degrees, they get the deep freeze buff, which means they stay perfectly fresh. So they're in a sterile environment because they're in a vacuum, and they're deep frozen so they don't spoil. So there's been a bunch of meat just lying around the map. 1,400 calories. I mean, no point in wasting it. So we're going to take all the meat and pacu fillet and all that and stick it in here. There. Perfection. Now, that all gets dumped in there, and that should immediately be deep frozen. Yep. Deep freeze. Unreachable. All of it. In fact, everything in there now should be swamp chard heart. Unreachable will never go off anyway, so we don't have to care. And that takes care of all our food problems, well, on this planet. While we're waiting for the fridge to fill up, I should point this out. You see this insulated tile here made of ceramic? It's minus 80. You notice it's rapidly plummeting in temperature. This is to do with flaking. It's when a liquid comes in contact with something that's hotter than its actual vaporization point, a little bit of the liquid flashes to gas. So that also transfers some temperature into the tile to rapidly speed up the heat transfer. And that's why that tile is absolutely going down at a ridiculous rate. This side has already capped out, minus 186, and this one will hit that point eventually as well. Alright, with that done, Yeah, I took that pacu fillet out because it was down to 0% freshness. I didn't want it in there. It shouldn't cause anything to off-gas, and we definitely have hydrogen in there. So yeah, we're fine. Perfect. Now, give me a minute while the rest of this spins up and we can demonstrate it in action. Time for the moment of truth. What we're going to do now is hook up the automation wire. So, what this means is we're going to set this to, if the pressure is below 20 kilos in here of oxygen or gas, what will happen is it will turn on this liquid pump to say, hey, we want liquid oxygen in here. And it's also going to turn on the automation to these gas pumps that in here and say, hey, pump in more polluted oxygen because we're extracting liquid oxygen. And off we go. And polluted oxygen starts to flow. Liquid oxygen starts to flow up the pipes. Now, the thing is, it's going to exchange heat with the incoming polluted oxygen. But because we're keeping the amount of liquid in the pipes below 1 kilo, it can't state change, meaning it'll just stay in the pipes until it gets to the other side. And the moment it gets out here and the little blob of liquid pops out, it just immediately turns into clean oxygen. There. 100% perfect clean conversion rates, no filtration medium required. And then it gets pumped down here and sent into this gas vent, which starts to pressurize this area. In fact, I've vacuumed out this entire area, so now there's nothing but oxygen in here. Now we'll let this pressurize a bit, and then what we'll do is I'll show you what happens when it stops, when it's no longer required oxygen, because this is an on-off system. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. Literally, this thing can just pump out 1 kilo of oxygen as much as you like or as little as you like for as long as you like, assuming you keep feeding it polluted dirt. Right now we've got this little temporary setup done, but later on we'll be automating it so that the trees and the ethanol distilleries are feeding it all its dirt. While we pressurize the living quarters down here, let's take a moment to get started on our farming section. We're going to want to put in some sleet wheat here, which is why I have that liquid pipe coming through here. It's going to chill down this metal plate, which we can then use via this door to inject temperature in here to chill down this room to sub-zero temperatures for the, or between 0 to 5C for the actual sleet wheat we're going to stick there. And we'll have a little double blob liquid lock with a vacuum seal in there. We might want to get started on that vacuum lock now that I think about it. Oh, and while that's happening, I should point out the steam turbine is having a wonderful time. See, it's in oxygen. All the polluted oxygen has been converted to clean oxygen, which is great. But as well as that, there's this pipe here of supercoolant that is chilling down the oxygen until it literally turns into a liquid, at which point it then flashes back to a gas, usually because the steam turbine is too hot. So whenever the steam turbine turns on, it's in gas, and then when the steam turbine turns off, usually all the liquid in here, or all the gas in here ends up as a liquid. It's just the way it is, though it is... Oh, it's going to do things to those tiles. You know what? Not going to worry about it. We have finally finished pressurizing the base, at which point it's going to flip this automation. And when it does, it stops pumping the 1 kilo of water and out, or 1 kilo of oxygen out, and stops pumping the 1 kilo of polluted oxygen back in again. Well, it should, if... What's going on? Why, pipe blocked? Oh, yeah, well, it's not quite full. Like, the occasional packet does sneak out. Soon the tables will turn. Oh, damn it. It keeps flicking on and off. There's going to be a little bit of a wobble here and there. That's fine. We could put in some automation to stabilize it out, but it's not really that necessary, to be honest. And the great thing about this, though, is it keeps this pretty stable. This is going to stall out about 200 kilos of oxygen and about 180 when it's active. Where is it? The reason being is there'll be a big pool of oxygen left in here at the end of this when it does shut off. And it will slowly but surely, like you can see there's 2 kilos of polluted oxygen, and all of that will pretty much get eaten up by the pool at the bottom and slowly turned into liquid oxygen during the downtime periods. And that is how we're going to oxygenate the entire base. Oh, I should point out, this conversion process is not perfect. Anyone want to... According to this, it eats a kilo of polluted dirt, but only spits out 660 grams of polluted oxygen, so it's not the most efficient. However, up until very recently, the polluted dirt couldn't really be turned into an efficient food source unless you wanted to run a bunch of crops, normally which required more water as well, so this actually works out a really nice way until the invention of those sani shells, which we might use that on the next base. But for now, we want to get around to making sure we can do wheezworts and sleet wheat for our frost burgers. If we want to make frost burgers, we're going to need to make sleet wheat, we're going to need to make lettuce, and we're going to need to get our hands on some meat. Yeah, this is all going to be interesting tasks. Yes, I know this area is a little bit tiny, but we only need to put in 1 wheezewort in here, and we should be fine. Should be. So 1 wheezewort, 1 sleet wheat, done. Then out here, well, okay, we'll come back to that one, and then down here we're going to put in the water weed. However, that does bring us a problem. How are we going to get our hands on the resources to feed the water weed? You see, water weeds, which we don't actually have any on site just yet, they require 2 things we can't really make easily. As in, they require salt water and bleach stone, which, yeah, there's no real way of magically making those. But I think there's a way around that. That still means it would come from a coup, but yeah, we'll get back to that. For now, I want to take this radiation we've been accumulating and I want to dump it in here. We're going to need this radiation for the next part of our plan. So liquid rocket port unloader, dump it all in there. The reason this thing is situated at this location is it's 35 tiles high to the top of the map, meaning we can, if we want to, land hydrogen rockets here. Another quick nuclear waste storage to generate us a bunch of rads. I mean, it'll be low down until we get it filled, but I think a couple of rockets of radiation, or nuclear waste, should definitely fill it up nice and neatly. Then we can fly that rocket back to stock up with even more. Oh, and we can get rid of this down here. With that mess cleaned up, it's time to actually get started on making our crops work. So here's where we're going to be planting all our trees, and we need to get the water over to them. So let's see. We've got to get the water that's coming out of this pump over to these trees, through this base, and hopefully still leave room for our insulation loop. Well, first things first, we're going to put in this piping here. This here is going to hook up the outflow of this polluted water, or this clean water, right back into the toilets. And then what I figure is we get the overflow from that polluted water, and we send it up here. Now that's going to merge up with the water coming from this section. This is the guts of how it's going to start. The polluted water from the bottom of our natural gas generators is going to come down and over here. That's going to meet up with the outflows from our toilets and sinks, and then it's going to split here. Some of it's going to come down here and get recycled back into the sinks. and, oh, yeah, that get turned into clean water so it can get recycled back into the sinks and toilets. The rest of it's going to go up here and get fed into a sleet wheat. Now, we only need a small amount of filtration medium because we've just got to run, well, the toilets and sinks. That's it. And the toilet sinks and the sleet wheat. So we shouldn't need that much. The rest of the polluted water is just going to be spent as polluted water. That's going to come up here, go into this liquid tank, and then come down here and get fed into all of these things, these hydroponic farm tiles. We're going to need to let this back up for a bit before we start planting trees. I don't want to have it running stuttering in a way. But now, that means we can get around to setting these up correctly. What we want to do here is cut out as much labour as possible when it comes to using this ethanol. The ethanol is only here to generate the dirt and the polluted water. It's basically just a side effect that we have to deal with. So what I want to do is have it, whenever the trees get harvested, these auto sweepers can pick up the wood, they'll dump it into these conveyor loaders. Those conveyor loaders will send them all the way down here into these conveyor receptacles hanging above the ethanol distilleries. So we'll be generating probably just a little bit more wood than we need, so these should be backed up eventually with nothing but wood. Then the auto sweepers here can pick it up, dump it into the ethanol distilleries, and they don't need any duplicate interaction. And at that point, they'll just start pumping out ethanol, dirt, and carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide we'll deal with in a bit, but we got to deal with the dirt first. But let's let them finish off the automation a little bit. Done. Now all we got to do is get the ethanol out of here. I just remembered we've got to get 2 kilos of ethanol from these four, and then, well, a reasonable amount of ethanol from the other ones, and it's going to be about 70 degrees. And we need to get it over to these two petrol generators. I'm thinking instead of going through the base and through what's going to be a rather hot area, I say we go up through here and across the top. Oh, let me see how I'm going to manage this one. Knowing that we're going to have to put in a bunch of cooling through here, as in we're going to have to run a whole bunch of radiant pipes through this section. We put in a few extra bridges here and there because, yeah, that's going to be a thing for the future. And then that will all bring them over here and into the petroleum generators, where they will generate their polluted water, which can then get sent back over here to get fed into the trees to make the wood that go into the ethanol generators to generate the petroleum, or the ethanol to make the even more polluted water. In theory, this should work. Even with our amazing builder team, that is a lot of insulated pipe. It took them a while to get all of that piping set up and over to the petroleum generators. Next up, we got to sort out power. These things are going to be power hungry because they're going to be active 24/7. There's going to be no downtime for these once we get this whole thing rolling. So that's 1.75 kilowatts of power, which means they're going to need their own transformer. And I'm thinking we're going to expand out our transformer section to include down here. We're going to need to send cooling down here as well and a few other things, but I think we can get it to work. The hard part is, how do I get that out of there without... I figure I'll do something like this, but I need to stop the water from escaping to do that. Maybe something like... You know what? I'll figure it out. I figure it's easy peasy. What if we just stuck in the heavy watt joint plate and not care? A little bit of polluted water will fall down, hopefully a little bit. Liquid pump grabs it and just shoots it into the overflow line where it goes off to get sent to the tree or the orchard, whatever. Should be fine. Better be anyway. That's good. That seemed okay. No carbon dioxide escaped. Yeah, just the liquids, and liquid-wise, perfect. Oh wow, we did lose. That was a lot of liquid. It's going to be a while before we're going to be pumping anything out of there again, but, you know, it worked out far better than I could have anticipated. Excellent. Alright, with that problem solved, perfect. That can provide all the power we need to, well, 1 second. That power wire will go all the way back here and power the ethanol distilleries. Nice. Now, we also need to get a bunch of gas pumps in here. It turns out these will produce more than enough gas, or carbon dioxide, to actually feed all of the Slicksters we plan on running. So, that means all of the carbon dioxide from this section is just going to be vented into space. That's how much excess carbon dioxide we're going to... It really seems like there's a lot of carbon dioxide in this game you got to get rid of. Alright, for now, though, we'll let it run into the base, but any excess we're going to have to take care of that before we boot this whole system up. That's going to be messy. But that means all the gases from here are going to get shunted down there, and then any overflows will get shunted up into the background of space. It's just we have too much carbon dioxide. There's nothing we can do with it. This down here is going to be even more carbon dioxide we have to dump into space. It's just these ethanol refineries, once they're running at full speed, will be generating about 700 kilos per cycle. Those two gas pumps can only handle 600, which means we need an extra one and an atmo sensor to make sure. Yeah, when I started this base, I knew it was going to be hard, but this thing is frying my noodle like you wouldn't believe, trying to keep track of all the different moving parts. Anyway, waste gases have been taken care of. We still have to power them, but that can wait. What needs to happen now is we need to figure out what we're going to do with all the polluted dirt, or how we're going to manage that to hopefully make it easier for ourselves. So we need to put conveyor loaders in these rooms. The plan is we're going to seal the doors in these rooms so our duplicants can't get in and out of here to stop them trying to take over the tasks. There's also a mod that allows you to do that, but I prefer to see if we can work inside the mechanics to do it. That means all the wood will get sent in here via automation, all the processing will be done, and then all the polluted dirt, ethanol, and carbon dioxide will be taken care of automatically without the dupes having to touch it, which would be nice. Now, that does mean, though, I'm going to have to do a little bit of power shenaniganry here. You can come down there, and we just hop that across. But that means we need to get the polluted dirt and decide what we're going to do with it. Pretty handy, actually. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take all this polluted dirt, and we're going to put it in there. This is where we're going to have 3 composts. That should generate us the necessary amount of dirt. Then we're going to have that go all the way up here. And I believe this is where the sage hatch is going to be. So conveyor receptacle as well. Thank you very much. That can go about there. Auto sweeper should be able to reach it. Auto sweeper will grab the polluted dirt out of there and put it into that feeder. And the rest of the conveyor rail is going to go, oh god, up here. Yep, that's expensive, but we're using cobalt, so it's fine. Probably. And then that goes down there, and we're going to run it into this when the time comes. That means all the polluted dirt will automatically get sent over to get put into the compost. The excess will go and get fed into our sage hatch, and then the excess will get fed into this machine to produce us all the clean oxygen we need. So, this thing has actually filled up all the atmosuit docks now, so yep, they're all completely full. The whole line is backed up all the way back to there. You know, so there should be about 200 kilos of oxygen here. Yeah, 203. So that for every kilo we put in, we take 1 kilo out. And in theory, I don't know because I haven't tested this long term, this shouldn't end up with too much oxygen in it or not enough. If there is problems, though, what we can do is we can sever the line here with automation to try and balance things out again, though I'd prefer if we didn't. That would mean it is a site that requires maintenance. And we all know how I feel about maintenance. Well, I did a little bit of extra work on the automation here. We're going to have our compost here, so when they produce dirt, we're going to have that dirt loaded into this, which is going to send it up here to be dispensed throughout the tree area. So the trees should get automatically fed dirt all out of this system without the duplicants having to do anything. Though they can accidentally take over the odd mission, it's just a case of we'll set them on really low priority so that the auto sweepers are more likely to do it. And that should take care of most of the farming. In fact, let's just start planting a few of these. In fact, yeah, you can go down and actually the entire top row can go down. We should be able to squeeze them all in there, and that should at least get us started. Now, we won't put in the second row just yet. In fact, we're going to stop it about there. We're not going to put in that last one. We don't need that many. It's just, you know, it looked nicer when we did it this way. Oh, and will I make that inaccessible again? We did manage to get out of the gate a couple of sweet legs, so I've stuck one in each one of our crop areas. Now, how are we going to set this up? The thing is, we need to have dirt and clean water before we can use this, which actually we currently do. So maybe we should start working on this sucker right now. The plan here is a bit different from my normal strategy because we're bleeding chill out of something that is incredibly cold. Minus 197. That's, well, a lot of things liquefy at that temperature. If we accidentally mess this up, we're going to end up with carbon dioxide that's frozen. So, the temperature, let's just set it to, say, something nice at the start. Say 30 degrees. That seems like a reasonable temperature. And that should engage the door. And then what happens to the temperature here? Okay, it starts to go down. Okay, how have you not detected that the temperature has dropped that far yet? Oh, wow, it's gone to minus 25. Okay, it's a little bit wonky, but it kind of does the job. We haven't actually liquefied any carbon dioxide, which is one of the things I was kind of worried about doing there. Just because of the way we've got this set up. Also, we do have a Wheezewort there helping out. But let me check the rads. Rads here are 381. Perfect. So this is getting enough rads. All we need to do is get the temperature down to about a reasonable amount. And let's just keep checking that down. Oh, and while I'm feathering this down to the correct temperature, let's have a quick check over here at the gate. Turns out we have got a care package with a hatchling. I think that can actually be useful to us. We are going to capture you immediately. Hey, so when I yank that, and we're going to stick them in here into the sage hatchling enclosure. I mean, they're not a sage hatchling yet, but once we feed them enough dirt, they will be. So, you know, watching us. Now, well, that's going on. Let's see if we can't get this working right. Ooh, see, I don't want the temperature going so low it freezes the water in the pipes. This might have been a little bit of overkill. Just, you know, teeny tiny bit. All right, we have the sleet wheat has started growing, though. we are pumping in water which is 20 to 30 degrees. We'll have to keep an eye on that, and that's probably not low enough. We'll make some changes as time goes by. But yeah, that's going to take... Oh, okay, we'll hope that works. If there's any problems, we can extend the heat exchanger and maybe have a stepping off point. We've left ourselves some space there if we really need to do some shenaniganry. I'd prefer not to, but if it's necessary, we can. And down here, we're going to put in the waterweed seeds. I have fired over a bunch of them at some point, or I believe I did. Come on, where are you? Yep. Seriously? Have they not arrived yet? I know I sent over a bunch of waterweed seeds. There was a mix-up at the post office. We eventually got them sent over. And yeah, we now have those waterweeds planted there. We just got to put a little bit of salt water on them as well. Or actually, any water should do, I believe. Waterweed original, water, salt water, or brine. Yeah, well, I think our crops are just about set up. Almost. We still have to sort out the water and bleach, or the salt water and bleach stone for those, but that's on the menu. Over here, we're throwing down a few spindle grub fruits. The reason being, those sweet legs should be able to tend them, and that will increase their chances of it turning into the preferred form. I think it's the grubs, and they'll give grubs. Though I'm not sure if we need sulfur for that. If we need sulfur for that, well, things will get more complicated. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, we want to get a cooling loop installed. See, we have to keep the whole base cool, and what I've decided to do is run... I'm basically going to extend this cooling loop here to sort of cover the whole base. Yeah, and it's also going to pass through that aqua tuner. This might take me a minute to figure out. While I was waiting for this to complete, I was actually taking a look around some of the other planets, and I'd like to show you something I think is pretty beautiful. This is irony. I think the water is getting close to boiling in a few locations. That looks awesome. Oh, I should probably deconstruct those mini gas pumps. They're going to immediately start getting damaged once the temperature rises above 75 C, so let's just destroy those. Once they're deconstructed, there should be no problems in there, but I'm liking the look of this place. Just needs a little bit more time. That water down there is at, it's only 50 degrees. Oh, that place is there, not quite so hot, but, you know, give it another few hundred cycles, and I think we will have on our hands a beautiful planet. I think we're ready to start this cooling loop. It's a rather large one. First off, let's just actually bridge something on here. We're going to bridge on the supercoolant we do have in the system, just to make sure we keep extending this out. We're going to need so much supercoolant for this loop, aren't we? Fine, it's fine. We'll sever that there, hook it up to that section, and boom, supercoolant starts flowing. Now the supercoolant is going to be replenished from... Hey, guys, anyway, that's going to pass down through here and go through the kitchen area. And then after that, it's going to zigzag through the bedrooms before finally coming back down about the atmosphere docks. Then it's going to go up through a couple of ranches, down through the tree area, second tree area. Then it's going to go through both of the ethanol refineries. Then it's going to come down here and go to the base of the industrial brick, then go back up, pass through the aqua tuner. We should really stick some automation on that, but it's not even plugged in yet, so it's fine. Then it's going to go across the top here and back up and around to the top. Now, currently, the only thing providing cooling is the methane. Like, all of the methane we've got coming in from space is what's providing this and providing the cooling, and we're just setting how warm we want things right now. Considering the vast quantity of space we are about to be cooling, I decided to turn down the chill to about 9 degrees. That means we should drag down the temperature through here, or at least start smearing it a little bit. Yeah, let's give that a few cycles to see how it pans out. You got to admit, though, the bedrooms have instantly cooled down. That thing just... Yeah, but they're soaking up heat at a ridiculous rate. It's going to take a whole bunch of rotations before that starts to cool this whole area down properly. But, you know... We're fine with that. It can do what it's going to do. How are the trees doing? The trees are actually, their branches are growing. That means we need to start powering things up a little bit over here. Just, we haven't actually connected up the ethanol distilleries and a bunch of the automation we're going to need. It started. We've started harvesting the wood. The ethanol has started being produced. That is going to get sent up here and get sent into our little power brick. And then the power brick's going to produce the polluted water, which we're going to send back to make even more trees. I might not plant the second row of trees just yet, though. We're still struggling to get all the resources in we need. We're a little bit short on supercoolant right now, so our cooling loop has got a bit of a gap in it. Yep, there's a giant gap right there. We're sending over some more supercoolant to fix the problem, and... Uh-oh. Did I... Yeah, there's supercoolant in there, but there's also 22 kilograms of petroleum. Okay, I can fix that. I can siphon that out somehow. There's a way. We sent over the petroleum so we could prep this we needed a bunch in here to turn on the liquid temperizer so we could crank up the temperature. Otherwise, when we send over the Slicksters, they'll all freeze to death. Temperature was a bit low, and now we're actually getting around to building this area out to be Slickster friendly. We're putting in a liquid lock here, and vacuum gas seal in the middle. We're sealing that off, so this is the only way in. In this place, we can heat up to a nice hot temperature. Everything in here is made out of steel, should be grand. Everything out here can get cooled down. In fact, if you look, even with just the solid methane we've got coming in from the planet, it's cooled down the whole area quite nicely. Did raise the temperature of our pool here a little bit. That used to be only about 9, now it's gone to 24, but I think it's actually gradually coming down again. We might just have enough cooling to take care of it all, though that was before we turned on the ethanol distilleries. Right, are you guys doing your... Damn it, I haven't set this up yet. Under industrial ingredients, we've got lumber, so I want all the lumber. You, and you. So all the lumber should get sent down. What are you doing? Yep, there you go. Then all of that should flow right down here, go straight into that section, and then the auto sweeper should do the rest. Come on. Alright, there'll be a bit of slowdown, but I'm kind of... Yeah, I was kind of expecting that. And the rest goes down there, and... Guys? Oh, all the ethanol distilleries are active. I suppose this is one giant harvest, so it'll be a while before that all gets cleared out. Now what we can do is just seal the doors. No one should ever need to go in there again. Oh, polluted dirt. Yes, the polluted dirt needs to get picked up and sent around as well. Okay, polluted dirt. That should all get swept up. That goes onto the rail as well. That goes down here, gets sent across. Should get loaded into this first. Yep. Excess will then get sent on. Now, we don't have a sage hatch just yet, so it can't eat polluted dirt, so we're just feeding regular dirt to the hatches for now. But that does mean I would be more than happy to put down our refinement section here and throw down a few composts. We're going to have a little bit of a contamination where non-ACU blessed material will pass through this, as in it doesn't come directly from our methane supply. But for startup, I'm okay. Just as long as long-term it can all be renewably provided by the methane, I'm cool with that. All right, and down here, what was this one for? Oh yeah, this was for dirt. So organic, dirt selected. Well, there will be some manual work required. This is a compost. Oh, look at that. Conveyor receptacle beads, look at that. You add it in. Now, there will be a bunch of polluted dirt we're going to be taking that's not sourced from this, but that's once we leave the planet, we're going to be taking everything with us. As in, we're going to take all the stuff on this planet, load it up into our rockets, and take it home with us. So there won't be anything left but what this colony can self-sustain and make. I think it's going to work, though. I'm pretty confident, reasonably confident. Now that the trees are dropping all the wood, the temperature's pretty stable. Oof. Let's actually check if it is pretty stable. 22? Yeah, it's pretty stable, even with all these ethanol distilleries going mad. And our water supply is actually going up, so I'm thinking we can plant a few more trees. In fact, I'm going to plant all the trees. And at the same time, I've shipped over a directlet egg, I've also sent over a pinch row egg, and I've also sent over 4 molten Slickster eggs. So that should at least get us started. There we go. Come on. Perfect. Oh, actually, I should probably let them in there to use that. I've been using this to stop them getting at the mini-pods so that they don't hang out there on their break. They still seem to be trying to hang out there, despite us having a recreation room over here. I don't know why. It works on every other planet, but I think it's because they live inside rockets, maybe. Never mind. We'll have a permanent resident shortly. Well, everything seems to be spinning up nicely. We haven't sent in no reduplicants just yet, but we still have to tackle the million-dollar question. How are we going to get these water weeds to grow when we need bleachstone and salt water, and still have it come from natural gas that we're getting from ACU? So, yeah, we took some liberties here, let's just say. Natural gas burns, gives you the polluted water gets sent into the trees get turned into ethanol, and the ethanol all spits out polluted dirt. That polluted dirt then gets fed to the sage hatch. We don't have one of those yet, but it's fine, we'll have a sage hatch in a bit. That sage hatch produces coal. So that coal is then put through a kiln and turned into refined carbon. That refined carbon is then sent up to a diamond press where it was turned into diamond. Well, okay, we do have to use some rads here, but I'm going to consider the rads a free source because, you know, it's just rads, you know. Then we take a rad bolt engine and the refined diamond, or the diamond we've just made, and we put the diamond into a drill bit. We then take that drill bit, or well, drill cone made with that diamond, and we fire it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is just inside the range of a rad bolt engine, to an interstellar ocean. And then when this rocket arrives at the interstellar ocean, The ship will arrive and start mining, and as you'll see, the drill cone is being ablated away as it mines, meaning we're using the diamond to acquire the cargo, which will get us salt water. Also brine, salt, and ice, but whatever, it's the salt water we're really interested in. Then, when it's finished, it'll take that salt water home. Now, of course, we will have to do something similar with bleachstone, but that's even closer, so no problems there. Anyway, we get back home, and then we will take that salt water, drain it through here, put it into this liquid tank. We'll have some automation set up on that, and that will run its water down to our water weeds. And that way we're growing the water weeds with the actual salt water we acquired via the diamond that we, in a roundabout way, got from the methane that we got from Aku. So technically we're still running on that 1 kilo of methane. In fact, everything's like, we could completely take away everything else on this entire asteroid, and we'd still be able to keep this running indefinitely, as long as we had a source of rads for the rad bolt engine and, running the diamond press. So I think that's okay. It's a little bit iffy and shitty, but I think it works. And why is that not working again? Damn it! 1 second. This thing has this weird thing. If there's no pipe segment here, it doesn't work. So if you build a pipe segment, it then starts activating. Maybe. I could have sworn I built that a few times already. Oh, and that reminds me. Where are these sweetles? I'm kind of curious about is, yeah, grub. It tends to a spindle grubfruit plant or a grubfruit plant. Now, I have these things here, but they're actually, oh, it is actually sweetle-tended. So these things can tend, oh, excellent, they can tend the grubfruit plants. They don't even need to be growing. I thought I was going to have to get sulfur, which meant I was going to have to take like the petroleum down here and run it through a sour gas boiler to get the sulfur to make the sweetles turn into grubs. But this way we can get grubs without any sulfur. That actually simplifies things entirely. But unfortunately, I am out of time for today. We did get the temperature way down. Way down. And we've got the guts of this whole thing up and running. I think it's just a case of polishing it up and then sending duplicants over, though we're kind of running out of duplicants. Our home base has 11. This base is designed to support 8. So if we take 8 duplicants out of here, we're only going to have 3 duplicants left on our home planet, which will be a bit odd. Plus, most of the duplicants we have left are not exactly engineering types. We sent most of the engineers already, which means we've got several cooks. Are we going to have to hire more people just to fill this planet? You know what? I will worry about that the next day. I think for now, this has been a good day's progress. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck.